Right now, somewhere on Earth, two people are pressing their lips together and completely losing their minds about it. Maybe it happened to you recently. Maybe it happened this morning. You leaned in, or someone leaned toward you, and without a second thought, you did one of the strangest things a human body can do. You mashed your face against another face. You shared saliva with another person, and it felt good. Here's the thing. That moment, that weird, wonderful, slightly unsanitary moment, is one of the oldest behaviors in the human story. Kissing shows up in our earliest written records. It shows up in ancient sculptures. It shows up in cave art. It might even predate language itself. It's older than money, older than the wheel, possibly older than the species of human you actually are. The question is, why? Why did evolution, out of all the possible things it could have us do, land on this? What were our ancestors actually solving when they invented the kiss? Let's go back to the very beginning, and I mean very beginning. Before we talk about romance, we need to talk about our primate relatives. Because here's a surprise. Humans are not the only animals that kiss. Chimpanzees and bonobos do it. They press lips together after conflicts, as greetings, as reassurance. It's not exactly a date night activity for them. It's more like a handshake, a social tool, a way of saying we're okay, I'm not going to bite you today. Researchers who study great apes have documented this behavior in dozens of wild and captive groups. And what they found is that lip contact, even in chimps, reduces cortisol, the stress hormone. It physically calms the nervous system of both animals involved. Think about that. The first version of the kiss wasn't romantic, it was diplomatic. And humans, carrying that same deep primate wiring, brought it with us when we branched off from our common ancestor, somewhere around 6 million years ago. We kept the behavior. We just eventually gave it a much more complicated meaning. Now here's where it gets genuinely strange, and a little gross. But stay with me. One of the leading scientific explanations for romantic kissing, the kind between potential partners, is that it evolved as a biological screening system, a detection mechanism, an unconscious test you run on another person's body before you decide to reproduce with them. Here's how it works. When you kiss someone for the first time, you are bathing in their chemical information. Their breath carries markers of their immune system, specifically, proteins linked to something called the Major Histocompatibility Complex, or MHC. This is a cluster of genes that governs how your immune system identifies threats. And the research, led by scientists like Claus Wedekind in the 1990s, showed something remarkable. Humans are unconsciously attracted to people whose MHC profile is different from their own. Why? Because a child born to two parents with different immune profiles inherits a broader, more robust immune defense. You are, without knowing it, sniffing out genetic compatibility. Your nose and your lips are running a quiet background process that your brain never consciously sees. Wedekind's famous sweaty t-shirt study, yes, that's a real thing, had women rate the attractiveness of men's body odor on worn shirts. The women consistently preferred the smell of men whose MHC was least similar to their own. Their bodies knew something their brains didn't. The kiss, then, is where that chemical information becomes richest, closest, most complete. You thought you were being romantic. You were actually running a parasite detection algorithm. Same. Yeah, that does take the magic out of it slightly. But here's what makes this so important. This means kissing isn't just a cultural habit we invented and passed down. It is, at least in part, a biological behavior we evolved because it worked. The couples who kissed, who got close enough to gather that immune data, may have made better reproductive choices. Their children may have survived more often. And so the kiss, and the powerful emotional reward the brain wraps around it, got selected for over tens of thousands of generations. The butterflies, the racing heart, the way a first kiss feels like the world narrows down to a single point. That's your brain flooding your system with dopamine and oxytocin, two neurochemicals that essentially say, pay attention, this matters. Remember this person. Evolution designed that reward to make sure you didn't just walk away. You aren't choosing to feel that. You are being told to feel that by 200,000 years of trial and error. Now let's fast forward to the historical record, because the written history of kissing is its own wild ride.
The oldest written reference to kissing we've found comes from ancient Indian texts, the Vedas, dating back to around 1500 BCE. They describe people sniffing each other's mouths as a sign of affection. Some scholars think this was an early precursor to kissing as we know it. Others think it was already the real thing, and the translation is just awkward. By 326 BC, when Alexander the Great led his army into India, his soldiers brought back descriptions of the practice to the Mediterranean world, and it spread. Roman culture embraced kissing so thoroughly that they had three distinct words for it: osculum, for a friendly kiss on the cheek; basium, for a kiss on the lips; and savium, for something considerably more intense. The Romans were not messing around with their taxonomy. Here's the problem, though. Kissing also terrified ancient authorities. The Roman Emperor Tiberius, in the 1st century CE, actually tried to ban public kissing to stop the spread of a lip disease that was running through Rome. He failed, by the way. You cannot ban kissing. History has tried. Fast forward again. The medieval Catholic Church spent considerable energy trying to figure out what to do about kissing. It was everywhere. It was used in religious ceremonies, in legal contracts, some land deals were sealed with a kiss, and obviously, in every form of courtship. The church categorized different types of kisses, warned against certain ones, and wrote extensively about when lip contact was spiritually acceptable. Which tells you something. When an institution as powerful as the medieval church spends official policy energy on whether or not people should be pressing their lips together, that behavior is deeply, stubbornly, fundamentally human. They couldn't legislate it away either. Nobody ever has. And then, there's the fascinating counterpoint. Because if you think kissing is universal, here's the thing. It's not. Or at least, it wasn't. Anthropologists studying isolated cultures found that romantic lip-to-lip kissing was actually absent in a significant portion of the world's traditional societies. A 2015 study by William Jankowiak and colleagues surveyed 168 cultures and found that 6% had romantic kissing as a documented practice. In many cultures, the equivalent expression of intimacy involved nose rubbing, forehead pressing, breathing in each other's scent, which actually supports the biological origin story. The impulse to get close, to take in chemical information from the face of a potential partner, appears to be universal. But the specific form it takes, lips on lips, seems to be a cultural crystallization of that impulse. We all have the instinct. We just express it differently, depending on where and when we grew up. The hardware is ancient. The software is cultural. So here's the full picture. 6 million years ago, our primate ancestors used lip contact to ease tension and build social bonds. Somewhere in the long stretch of early human evolution, that behavior got recruited into mate selection, a way to gather immune chemistry, to assess compatibility, to let the body make a judgment the conscious mind couldn't. Then, history got hold of it, and humans being humans, we built entire systems of meaning around it. Romance, ceremony, contract, religion, greeting, farewell. We made it into art, into literature, into the thing people remember for the rest of their lives. And you, right now, in your life, carry every single layer of that history in the way a kiss still makes your pulse jump. That flicker of nerves before a first one. The way your body already knows whether it's right before your brain has finished the sentence. That's not just chemistry. That's 6 million years of ancestors who got it right enough to pass the behavior on to you. The kiss is ancient, and every time you lean in, you are participating in one of the oldest conversations our species has ever had. If you want more strange corners of human history that are hiding inside your everyday behavior, stick around. There's a lot more where that came from.